In this video, we'll show you how to generate a two-class timetable using B-InTime application by BAKALÁŽI Software company. We'll only enter the most essential data. We'll show you the basic principles of timetable creation. You can learn more about the application in the video sequences about individual B-InTime sections. So, let's start.
Once the program has been installed, we have demonstration data available. If we want to start working with our own school timetable, we first have to define the data folder where the timetable will be saved. Click Define Data Folders. Enter the data of the timetable validity and description. With the Save button, we confirm the creation of the new data folder. We go back to the main menu. Before scheduling, we enter classes, groups, teachers, rooms, buildings, and prepare workload groups that will fit into the timetable. In the main menu, click on the Data Files Workloads button.
First, we'll enter buildings. By default, only one building is defined in the data, which is enough in our example. Next, we'll continue by entering classrooms.
Enter the abbreviation, title, choose a building. We can also specify the classroom size.
We need root classrooms for our two classes, gymnasiums for physical education lessons, and specially equipped classrooms for foreign language teaching.
Save the defined rooms with the Save Classrooms button. Classroom sets play an important role in the process of scheduling. Subjects or individual workloads can be assigned a set of appropriate and unacceptable rooms. The timetable is then able to control the lesson not to be scheduled in the place where the room is not suitable. To create a new set, use the plus button, enter the abbreviation and title. To select the rooms belonging to the current set, click the Define Items button. In the list that appears, select the appropriate items and confirm them.
For our purposes, we'll create a classroom set of gymnasiums and a classroom set of specially equipped classrooms for foreign language teaching.
In the next step, we define subjects. For each subject, enter the abbreviation and name. Next, we can specify an appropriate room for the subject. For example, in the subject of physical education, we select a set of gymnasiums for the appropriate rooms. If the subject cannot be taught in any other classroom, we select the option Other Unacceptable, as in our case of physical education. To define teachers, click on the Teachers button. Enter the abbreviation, a title, before and after the name, surname, and first name. Save the predefined teachers with the Save Teacher button. In the next step, we define classes. Click the Classes button. Enter the abbreviation, title, select a teacher from the list. Next, we can select a root room for that class. It is important in the timetable when classes of the appropriate class will be preferably placed in the root room unless otherwise stated. Save the predefined classes with the Save Classes button. For teaching some subjects, the class may be divided into groups, such as foreign language teaching, optional subjects, and others. Click on the Groups button. We select the class for which we want to add the division to the groups. Click the Add item, enter the abbreviation, the group name, and the number of pupils.
In our case, we'll divide the class into the groups of boys and girls for physical education lessons. We'll create groups for foreign language teaching and computer science lessons.
We need to define the cycles in the timetable before creating the workloads. The number of cycles indicates the number of weeks the schedule is repeated. If the timetable is the same every week, then one cycle that is predefined in the data is sufficient.
Finally, we'll enter workloads.
Individual workloads represent tickets which we will schedule later. Click the Workload Groups button. Select the appropriate class and click Add Item. Double-click on the menu to select a group. We can specify a subject by selecting it from the menu, or we can enter a part of the abbreviation or name in the editing line. That reduces the offer in the menu, and we can select the relevant subject using the mouse or keyboard. In the same way, we will also select teachers. Appropriate and unacceptable rooms are defined by default according to the selected subject. However, we can change them for every single workload. Finally, enter the number of lessons to the given workload. When scheduling new workloads, we can use a copy of the existing workloads.
Set yourselves to the workload of physical education. Click the plus Add Item button. That will create a copy of the workload where we'll change only the class.
Workloads can also be joined. By joining a workload, we understand joining multiple groups of the same subject, teacher, and the number of lessons from different classes.
In our case, boys from both classes will have physical education lessons together.
We go to the workload which we want to join. Click the Join Workload Groups button and select the workloads which will be taught together.
In the same way, we'll connect physical education lessons for girls from both classes.
The joints are displayed by enumerating the classes in that row.
Finally, save the data using the Save Workloads button. Now we have set all the essential data and we can start creating the timetable. We'll return to the main menu, click the Timetable button, and confirm data loading. Colors are very important when creating the timetable. We'll define colors for the individual subjects as it can help us to read the created timetable better. In the Configurations folder, click the Subject Colors button. To choose the color for the subject, click in the palette of the pre-designed colors. In the next step, we'll define the basic timetable scheme of every class.
In the Create Schedule folder, choose Timetable Scheme Class and select the appropriate class. In the scheme, we can define the extent of hours where we would like to place the scheduled lessons. On the right, we select Do Not Schedule Lesson option, and in the timetable, drag the mouse to the place where we do not want to place the lesson. For example, we always want to start with the first lesson and we do not want afternoon classes on Friday. In the next step, we specify the time in which pupils can have a lunch break. The program then automatically controls whether each pupil has a lunch break within a set time. The last choice is a continuous teaching. That option is used for the times where there cannot be any space in the schedule, that is, each class pupil has a lesson. Drag to define morning lessons.
We'll set the created scheme also for the second class, or we can change it as needed.
In the same way, we can define the schedule scheme of the individual teachers. One of the prerequisites for a comfortable and successful timetable creation is joining workloads for scheduling. For workloads divided into groups, we need to determine how they should match in the schedule. We create joint tickets which we will continue to work with as a whole. In the Creating Schedule folder, select Join Workload Groups. After selecting the class, a field is displayed in which the currently unscheduled tickets are placed. In the left-hand bar, select the joining mode. Select the appropriate workload.
In our case, we'll schedule both groups of physical education together. In the information window, we can also see the connection with the second class, which we defined in the Data Files Workloads section. Similarly, we'll also connect other workloads scheduled together. In the class timetable, we have 2 lessons of art education that we need to schedule immediately, one after the other. To do that, we use the multiple lesson blocks.
In the Creating Schedule folder, click the Define Multiple Lesson Blocks button. After selecting the class, the field in which the currently unscheduled tickets are placed is displayed. Step by step, click on the tickets from which we want to create the block. After confirming with the Create button, the lesson block appears in the right field.
In the Prepare Generating folder, we'll stop at the Appropriateness choice, only where we'll identify the subjects which are the main ones and should be preferably taught in the morning, and those which should be instructed in the afternoon. We'll select the Main Subjects template and highlight the appropriate subjects by dragging the mouse. Similarly, we'll also enter other templates. Now, we can start creating our own timetable. In the Changes in Timetable folder, select the Timetable in Class button and choose the appropriate class. On the left, there is a field of the scheduled lessons. On the right, we can see the tickets ready for scheduling. Scheduling Tip, which is a list of all the unscheduled lessons sorted by the difficulty of scheduling, will make it easier for us. At the top, there are lessons that have the least space for scheduling and need to be placed in the schedule preferentially. In order to follow how the performed changes may affect the teacher's timetable, we'll open Depending on Situation from the Services Timetables folder. These are small auxiliary timetables that automatically change their content according to the lesson we work with. We'll run automatic generation. The program gradually schedules the lessons for which there is the least amount of space and selects the most appropriate placement in the timetable. We can read everything on the monitor with a set time delay. If we feel the need, we can intervene in the ongoing scheduling, either by moving the mouse or the escape key. By clicking the mouse, we will place a lesson to a different place than the one suggested. Use the button in the Scheduling Tip window to let the generator continue. In the auxiliary timetables, we can see how the lesson's scheduling affects the teacher's timetables. We can amend timetables manually, move lessons, and make exchanges as needed. Finally, we mustn't forget to save the timetables. In the Timetable Data folder, select Save Data. We can print out the created schedules in the Reports folder. In this video, we've shown you how to create a class timetable as soon as possible with B-InTime. The application contains many more options and settings that contribute to a better quality of the final timetable. You can learn more in the prepared detailed video sequences. Never forget that it is always better to personalize the final timetable with the author's deep knowledge of the particular school and intuition than the independent scheduling of any generating program. Therefore, do not be afraid to get involved in generating.